A world-class black surgeon, still wearing his blue scrubs, sprints toward the hospital doors because a woman is dying on the operating table and he's the only doctor who can save her. But before he even reaches the entrance, police cars block his path. Officers jump out, guns drawn, orders yelled. Slam him against a patrol car and cuff his hands, ignoring his ID, ignoring his pleas, ignoring the fact that every second counts. He tells them, "I'm the surgeon for an emergency. A woman will die if you stop me." But they don't listen. And here's the twist they were seconds away from discovering. Dying woman on that operating table is the wife of their own police chief. What happens next is a shocking chain of events that exposes prejudice, nearly costs a life, and leaves the entire police department in chaos. Stop right there. The words sliced through the cold morning air like a siren. Doctor? Marcus Hale, still in his light blue surgical scrubs, froze on the hospital parking lot pavement, his hands full with patient charts, his ID badge swinging from his neck. He had exactly 6 minutes to reach the operating room where a dying woman waited on the table. 2 police officers rushed toward him, hands already hovering over their holsters. "Sir, put your hands where we can see them." Marcus blinked, stunned. "I'm a surgeon. I'm late for an emergency operation." But his voice didn't seem to matter. His scrubs didn't matter. His hospital ID didn't matter. What mattered was that, to the officers, he looked like a suspect, someone who didn't belong there. Within seconds, he was pushed against a patrol car, cold metal cuffs locking around his wrists. He pleaded, "A patient will die if I'm not there." One officer smirked. "Then someone else will take care of it." What none of them knew, what would soon flip their world upside down, was that the patient waiting for Dr. Marcus wasn't just any patient. She was the wife of the chief of police, the very boss these officers worked under, and she had only minutes left. 5 minutes earlier, the hospital had erupted into chaos. Nurses sprinted, monitors beeped in alarm, and the surgical team stood ready, but the surgeon they needed had not arrived. Dr. Marcus Hale was a top cardiothoracic surgeon, known for saving impossible cases. The patient, Eleanor Briggs, collapsed that morning with a torn aorta. Her only chance was immediate surgery, and Marcus was the only surgeon trained for the procedure. The chief of police, Charles Briggs, stood outside the operating room, hands trembling, still wearing his uniform from an overnight shift. He had raced to the hospital after receiving a frantic call from his wife's phone, only to be told one thing: "Dr. Hale is on his way. Your wife is stable for now, but she doesn't have long." Now every minute felt like an eternity. A nurse rushed to Briggs. "Sir, Doctor Hale still isn't here." Briggs paced, his heart pounding. "Call him again. We tried." He didn't answer. At that exact moment, his wife's monitor dropped into dangerous territory. "If we don't start in the next few minutes, we're going to lose her." Briggs felt helpless, but he didn't know that his own officers were the reason the surgeon hadn't arrived. Back in the parking lot, Marcus stood cuffed, breathing hard, trying to stay calm even as panic filled his chest. "Officer, please," he begged. "I'm the on-call surgeon. There's a woman inside who will die." The taller officer scoffed. "You doctors think you can do whatever you want. I can prove it." Marcus insisted. "Just check my ID." But they didn't. Instead, they accused him of suspicious behavior, insisting they received a report of someone breaking into cars, a vague complaint with no description. Marcus felt humiliation burn deep. He had trained for over a decade, saving hundreds of lives. Yet here he stood, treated like a criminal for simply existing in the wrong skin at the wrong place. Suddenly, another patrol car screeched into the lot. A female officer stepped out, her eyes widening the moment she saw Marcus in handcuffs. "Why is he detained?" she demanded. He was acting suspicious. She snatched the ID from his chest. "He's the surgeon for the Briggs case. Are you out of your minds?" The officers froze. "The Briggs case, as in Chief Briggs." One muttered. "Yes," she snapped. "His wife is dying." The parking lot went silent. then exploded into panic. "Uncuff him, now!" But precious minutes had already slipped away. Chief Briggs was pacing outside when the elevator doors burst open. Marcus, breathless and furious, sprinted down the hall, the female officer following behind him. "What happened to you?" the chief asked, stunned. Marcus didn't slow down. "Ask your officers." He pushed through the doors, gloved up instantly, and began barking instructions to the team. For the next 2 hours, the world outside the operating table didn't exist. Every movement was precise, every decision critical. The surgical team fought relentlessly and slowly, very slowly. Mrs. Briggs's vitals began to stabilize. Finally, Marcus stepped out of the OR, exhausted but calm. "She's alive," he said. Chief Briggs collapsed into a chair, tears filling his eyes. Thank you. But gratitude quickly shifted to confusion as he noticed the red marks on Marcus's wrists. "What happened to you?" he repeated, his voice harsher now. Marcus stared straight at him. "Your officers arrested me on my way in." Briggs's face drained of color. "Arrested you?" Marcus nodded. "Because they didn't believe a black man in scrubs belonged at a hospital." The hallway froze. The weight of the truth hit Briggs like a punch to the chest. His wife had nearly died not because her condition was hopeless, but because of the bias and arrogance of the very officers under his command. Chief Briggs called the involved officers to his office the next morning. The tension was suffocating. "Your actions almost cost my wife her life," he said quietly but with a rage that made the room feel cold. The officers stammered, trying to justify themselves, but Briggs slammed his hand on the desk. "No excuses, not today." He suspended both officers, ordered a full internal investigation, and implemented mandatory training for bias, emergency protocol, and proper verification procedures. Then he went to visit Dr. Marcus. Marcus expected anger, but instead Briggs walked in with humility that surprised him. "I owe you more than an apology," Briggs said. "I owe you my wife's life, and I owe you justice." The two shook hands, not as a chief and a surgeon, not as a white man and a black man, but as two people who had survived a tragedy that never should have happened. Marcus returned to work, stronger and more respected than ever. His story spread across the hospital, the police department, and eventually the whole town. And everyone who heard it learned the same painful lesson. Sometimes the greatest danger isn't the emergency in the operating room, it's the prejudice in the world outside it.